Simone van Neerven left her high-powered corporate career to launch ReBella, where she now champions the rebels within organizations to unlock innovation, courage, and real change. This episode of the Rebel Rebel is brought to you by my book, Brand Jitsu. Most brands blend in. They don't mean to, but they do. After 25 years of helping people fix that, I wrote the playbook. It's called Brand Jitsu, Move Your Brand from Meh to Memorable. It'll show you how to shape your story so it hits and sticks. Grab a copy at your favorite bookstore or head to brandjitsu.com. Welcome to the Rebel Rebel. I'm your host, Michael Dargie. And somewhere across the world, we're going to find out where, is Simone van Neerven. And I realize I didn't say that name quite right, but Simone, how the heck are you?
I'm very well, and you can call me whatever you want because it's a Dutch name, but I think it's a worldwide name used worldwide. So Simone. Simone. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you. I appreciate your grace. So where are you? You say it's a Dutch name.
It's a very Dutch name. I am also in the Netherlands or in Holland. And I'm in Amsterdam right now.
Very nice.
In the city center of Amsterdam. That's where I live.
Wow. And just to sort of catch me up on all things Amsterdam. Is it cool right now?
You mean weather or like the vibe?
Yeah, no. Let's go with vibe. What's the vibe in Holland right now? In Amsterdam?
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. I think there is a cool vibe here. I think there is like so many different nationalities, and so it's like a multi-culti place. On the other hand, you see what happens in the entire world, right? So right thinking is also taking place over here.
Gotcha.
So tolerance is, diminishing or decreasing. But there's a lot of cultural things going on over here. So I think that's a really nice vibe. Yeah.
So what is it that you do? Like what's your world right now?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's a big question.
It's a big question because people always want to put me in a box. So, and I said, but I do a lot of different things. So it's hard to say, hey, I do this. But so my company is called ReBella. So I do something with rebels. So that's also why I really wanted to come to your podcast because I feel at home.
Right on.
So for me, my business is it's not a rebellion is not the goal, but it's a means to an end to innovate or to change. And I especially help large companies or corporates, but also sometimes NGOs or any kind of organization that needs change and that needs a rebel to stir things up.
Oh, what a great job.
Yeah, well, I created it myself. So yeah.
Well, okay. So how did you come by that? Like, what happened along the way that made you this way?
So I believe that every person is born a rebel, but somehow along the way we unlearn it. So if you look at children, they ask a lot of questions. They're very curious. They're very creative. They don't have much fear that grows when you get older.
Right.
So somehow I think it was in me, maybe more than others. And then I graduated from university. And then back in those days, it was sort of like normal or cool to start in a corporate job. So I did.
Yeah.
I ended up in a large corporate for 16 years. Or 18, but 16 years in the same corporate.
Wow.
So, but I was quite rebellious. So I sort of like survived until the end. And then I had the best job ever. And I was like, okay, now it's time to leave. And that was about 7 years ago. So 7 years ago, I founded my company ReBella. But until then, I was part of the rat race in the corporate world. So I know how it works.
Yeah.
And the reason why I chose to build a company around rebels is because I was quite rebellious in my job different jobs, and I was able to accomplish great results. Even though I was a rebel, but everybody was like, rebels, they're like troublemakers and we don't need them and we don't want them. And so now I try to help organizations to discover their rebel talent.
That's so, thank you. That's such important work.
I know, because a lot of people send me messages like, hey, this is my story, or thank you for this advice. I have a newsletter, bi-weekly newsletter. And
nice.
It's called Ask Dr. Rebel. So I answer questions about rebellious behavior. It's not only rebels, but it's also managers of rebels who struggle with a rebel in their team, or co-workers who have to collaborate with a rebel. And I get a lot of messages, people saying to me like, hey, thank you, or can you reflect on this question, because I don't know how to deal with it.
Wow. Because I mean, rebels are not easy people to work with.
It depends.
Like I would imagine, speaking as a rebel myself, maybe I'm sometimes not easy to work with, but sometimes I am.
Well, if you understand and also your operating system, then I think it's very easy to work with a rebel.
Right.
And I strongly believe that if you create the right environment, they will bring you magic.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people say, they're such a pain in the ass, but they're not. If you understand how they work and what their drive is, they can come to amazing results.
Yeah. So what are some of the, how do we know if there's a rebel in your midst? Like, what are the warning signs that you've got a rebel on your team?
Yeah, so when I wrote some small booklets about it, and I thought a lot about it, and I came to actually 4 behavior traits. So curious, for me, obviously, asking questions all the time until it gets annoying, or even beyond annoying, because they just want to know. They don't want to. They want to get to the root of a problem. Creative, because I think they can come up with wild ideas, and that's because they're curious and they read and they see a lot outside their own jobs or world, and that gives them ideas or inspiration that might sound crazy. But for them, it's very logical. And then, obviously, they're super courageous, because they speak up when everybody else remains silent, or they share a wild idea while they know they will get a lot of resistance.
Yeah.
And then I think number 4 is, because I have a lot of discussions about people say, rebel with a cause. And then I say, well, Hitler was also a rebel with a cause, but it's not my cause. Right? So I think rebels also have something like care, like a big heart. They I do a strong moral compass or something like that, that they want to do the right thing. So
Damn.
Yeah, that's how you notice them, I think.
That is so cool. Why, so you left this job and you started your own thing, ReBella, and I don't think I've ever heard of another company like yours. Is that you're? Who do you work with? Who do you look for to do work with?
Yeah, no, it's so somehow I have been lucky until now. So I'm not looking for, but I am found. How do you say that? They look for me somehow. Yeah. And my name helps a lot, because if organizations don't like the rebel thing, they don't approach me. So there's already a shifting there. So the companies that approach me already have something like, okay, we might need to do some rebellious stuff. I have a very wide variety of clients. So I've worked with Chanel for a couple of years, but I also work for, I've had a corporate career at KLM. And then now every now and then I still help them, but I have in the airline industry some clients.
Yeah.
But some time ago, McKinsey hired me to do a workshop there because normally they use their own people.
Yeah.
Because they say, well, we have all the skills in the house, but they were like making an exception because they said we don't have something like that.
Yeah.
So and now I work for a Dutch organization that helps people with the distance to the labor market to get a job. So that those are people who might be autistic or have Down syndrome or things like that. So that's a very different company again.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
What's a thing that you do just for you? Like, what fills your bucket?
You mean where what I can do for hours and getting in a flow, or?
Yeah, the thing that you just love, that just puts it all back in so you can share.
Yeah, so what I really love to do, and I just finished just before we jumped into this podcast recording, I search for rebel stories, and I like the surprising stories that everybody knows, for instance, the Air Max, but they don't know the story behind the Air Max. Or everybody knows André Agassi and Boris Becker, but they don't know there's a really fun story about these two guys. So what I really like to do is to discover these stories, dive into that. And I use these also for all my keynotes when I'm on stage or when I give training or a workshop or stuff like that. So that really gets me going.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
What's your rebel story?
I have several. I think maybe one is when it started. It all started when I was 4 years old. So here in Holland, we don't have Santa Claus, but we have like a Dutch version, which is called Sinterklaas. And this guy doesn't come December 25, but he comes to the country on December 5.
Okay.
And he also has presents and all that kind of stuff. So he also has a beard and everything. So he's sort of like similar, but it's different.
Yeah.
So when I was 4 years old, this guy came to, it's like preschool. So when you're 4 years old, you're not on school, but you have like preschool. I don't know how you call it in English.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, preschool.
Yeah.
So and he brought presents for all the children, and so he had like for all the girls he had a doll, and for all the boys he had like a toy truck to play with. No. So you can already feel what happened. I was like, I don't want the doll, I want the truck.
Yeah.
So, but there was no truck for me. I had to get the doll. So I started screaming until I got the truck. I don't know. Maybe some boy had to give it, and now he has the doll. But yeah. So already there, I was like, this is not okay, and it needs to be different. And I want the toy truck. Yeah. But so I think I've always been a little bit of a rebel. But
clearly,
maybe a better story or a different story in corporate life is when I worked for KLM, which is a Dutch airline. There have been several rebel stories, but I will share one. Is my normal responsibility. I was leading all the logistics at Schiphol Airport for catering and board supply. And board supply are like blankets, toilet paper, everything that needs to be on board to take off. And then somehow on my desk landed a problem that was in a deadlock situation for years. It was something that the board of directors were struggling with, and nobody in the company knew a solution. And somehow this problem, someone told me about it, and I said, hey, I know how to do it. And it's like the turnaround of an aircraft. So whenever a plane lands, it needs to be prepared to take off again. So
Sure.
that means passengers in and out, luggage in and out, catering in and out, fueling, towing, everything.
Yeah.
And so for the smallest fleet, it was 50 minutes, so 50.
Yeah.
And it needed to be shorter because planes don't need to be on the ground, they need to be in the air.
Yeah.
So I said, I can do it, naively. And that person, he was like an executive, and he said, oh, finally someone's taking ownership. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so he became my sponsor, but there was also someone else needed to be a sponsor as well. So I had 2 sponsors. So we started to prepare, and I said, we're going to do it my way. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And they had no idea what to expect. Me neither, but I was like, okay, I think I know how to do it. And so I can talk for hours about this story because there's a lot of different layers. So I will give you the short version. So I prepared, and I said I want like a representation of each process that plays a role in this turnaround. But also I need some people from commercial and from quality assurance. And so I had about 20 people and I said, I don't want any managers, no managers allowed. So only people who actually do the work.
Yeah.
And the managers can only say upfront what their, limitations are or what their boundaries are.
Yeah.
So we know how far we can go with our ideas. And I said, for the 2 sponsors, the 2 executives, I said, your job is easy. At the start of the week, it was 4 days. So on Monday morning, you come in, you inspire the group, and then you leave. And then you also share these boundaries, and then you leave. And then on Thursday evening, you come back and you say yes to every idea that they present. And they were like, yeah, but we don't know. And it's like, but you give these boundaries. So trust me, I'll make sure that we stick to that.
Yeah.
And by the way, you share them in the morning. So if they come up with ideas that are too crazy, then they know you might say no because they know they're not within these boundaries.
Right.
So they were like, oh, okay, right. And then it was Friday, the day before the weekend that we would start. And then one of these executives called me and said, I can't come to this report out, but I will send someone from my team. And I said, well, sorry to hear that you cannot come, but I don't do like, how do you say that? If you send someone who represents you, I don't do down. How do you say that? But I want your boss, not someone from your team.
Right.
I don't know the English word, but he was like, what? So and I said, I mean it. So otherwise we just cancel the week. So he was a little bit flabbergasted. It was not very typical that someone deep down in the organization said something to him like that.
Yeah.
And then I called the other sponsor and I said, this is happening and I mean it.
Yeah.
And he said, no worries, I will call you back in a couple of minutes. And so he did. And he said, well, I called my boss. It's the same boss as the other guy. And he's super excited. He cleared his agenda and he will be there, he was the operational, the chief, operational chief of KLM.
Yeah.
So the highest operational guy.
Wow.
And so the other guy learned about that, and he was like, shit. And he cleared his agenda too, so he was there too in the end. But now the commercial of the chief operations was so excited that he was like, oh, I want to be there.
Yeah.
So we had that week, and it was an amazing week. And then the team presented that the turnaround could go back from 50 minutes to 35. So it's
Whoa.
like, without any investment.
Holy.
and it would result in about like 100 million euros, and it could be implemented in a couple of months. So this operational, this chief operations was like, this was in a deadlock for years. And then there's this little girl. I'm 160, so I'm pretty short. And then this little lady, she manages to do it.
I love it.
Yeah, so that was an interesting Rebel story.
100 million euros. Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's, yeah.
My takeaway there was to, getting the managers to establish their boundaries. This is where it won't work. Because if you know the boundaries, then you can play within it. If you don't know the boundaries, then you waste so much time. Right.
I said, what I don't want is that I have 20 people who are super excited. After a week, they present ideas or solutions, and the management is going to say, no, but that's not possible.
Yeah.
I said, no, that's not how we play this game here. So you need to think about it up front. And they had that was tough for them. But I was like, yeah, it's easy afterwards to say, no, we're not going to do that. But no, so now this is also one of my services that I say to companies, if you have a really complicated multidisciplinary problem, I can help. But this is the way we work.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Let's say you're walking, I don't know, down your favorite street in Amsterdam. And it doesn't matter what time of year it is. It's your favorite time of year. It doesn't matter. There's flowers, I would imagine, and bicycles, if I know anything about Amsterdam. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, I wish the world knew this one thing. What is the one thing that you wish the world knew? Could be about anything.
Yeah. What I see is that people who think differently, or who dare to be different, who are different, we need them to solve these wicked problems that we have. And nowadays I see that these people are regarded like crazy or troublemakers, and they're out of the discussion, while I think they can bring the solution to many of the tough nuts that we have to crack. Yeah. And so that is what I would wish for, that people who are different, who are wired differently, that they are asked to solve these problems.
Yay! I love that you champion the rebels.
Yeah.
That's so great.
And we need them. There's like this saying, like, it's not rebels that make trouble, but trouble that makes rebels. And if I look at the world, there's the trouble every year. The amount of troubles is rising. So the amount of rebels is also rising, or needs to go up.
I love it. What's your favorite thing to do that's not work?
It's a good question, because I don't see my work as work.
Right.
Because I create my own space. So I love to write, but then I write and I publish and my columns are published on different kind of platforms. So I really love to do that.
Yeah.
But then is it work? I don't know. Yeah.
Oh.
And I also you can't see it, but there's like a cat here. I like to play with the cat, and he's also a rebellious cat, of course. So that's also what I like to do in my
What's your cat's name?
Basje.
Basje?
Basje. Well, he's actually not my cat, but he's the cat of the neighbor across the street. So I live on the 4th floor, and she lives on the 1st floor. But he decided to move in with me.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah. But thank God it's not like a big fight in the street, like a neighbor fight, but it's all well. But yeah, a year ago, he was like, okay, it's enough. I want to live there. And he moved in.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. What's your favorite comfort food?
My favorite comfort food. Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh, that's I can really enjoy. I wake up really early in the morning, like really early in the morning. So and then I can enjoy a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So that is sort of like I don't know if that is that comfort food or not.
Yeah, sure.
It's like really, and I take some time to start the day.
Yeah.
And no rushing or whatever, and then really enjoy a coffee and then listen to a podcast or something like that. That's like, yeah, a comfort start of the day.
Love it.
Yeah.
There's these people in the world, and we call them rebels in waiting. And I think, at least this is my hypothesis, is that there's a bunch of, oftentimes people want to take a big step, but they don't know how to do it. Or they have this feeling inside that they need to be something more or bigger than they currently are. So they're just about to do it. And my question to you is, what advice, as an expert in rebels, what advice would you give these rebels in waiting?
So one of the things that eased me, I don't know, that gave me a lot of comfort was realizing that the opposition you get as a rebel is not, most of the time, it's not personal. Because what happens, you are a rebel, so you are shaking things up and you are like kicking against the system. You can try it. And that system gives a lot of other people safety. So what you're actually doing is you're sort of like shaking up their safety net. And so the resistance they show is not because they don't like you, but because they are a little bit afraid of what the hell is going on. So for me, it was a big step to realize that it's not about me.
Right.
So that is the first thing. And then that gave me a lot more comfort to be me and to take these steps and to keep rebelling. If I also look at my career, I didn't. So I shared with you this big thing that I did within KLM, but it was not the first thing. It started small, and then that worked out. And then I did something that was a little bit bigger, and that worked out too. And so I also it's not like a switch that from 0 to 1 and then boom.
Yeah.
You can also experiment a little bit with smaller things.
Love it. I love it. Thank you. Where can people find out more about you and the work that you do? We'll put all the links in the show notes, but
yes, I have a website which is called RebelLa. So it's ReBella.la.
Love it.
Yeah,
RebelRebel.
RebelLa. Well, it's a long story, but RebelLa. That, and I think I share all the other links on my site and of course on LinkedIn.
Yep.
There I also publish my bi-weekly newsletter. If people like that, you can also subscribe and then you get it straight in your mailbox. But I also publish it on LinkedIn.
Love it.
Yeah, and if people are interested, I have a little booklet.
Yay!
Which is called "Oh No, We Have a Rebel in Our Team." If people need some advice, it's not a booklet with a lot of a lot of text. So it's also very inspirational. A lot of quotes, a lot of visuals.
Oh, great!
And it's part of a series because I have 3 Rebel booklets now.
Yeah. And so we can buy those on your website?
Yes, only on my website because I took them off Amazon and all these other retail sites.
Oh, okay.
Because they take so much commission that I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. Yeah, I ship globally. So yeah.
Awesome. Spoken like a true rebel. Fuck it.
Yeah. So I published myself too, and if you how do you say that? If you deep dive into that publishing world, it's also a world where things could be done differently. It's also as an old system where that needs to be changed as well. And that's the same with all these retail platforms, because if you look at the commissions, it's like crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Well, Simone, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I can't wait. I'm going to go and order some books right now.
Yeah, I also have ebooks. Then you have them immediately.
Right? Yeah. Done.
Yeah.
I'm going to ebook it.
Yes. Perfect. Thanks for
so
having
much.
me. It was a great conversation.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. Hey, if you're an artist, scientist, entrepreneur, or business owner who wants a smooth and proven method to find, shape, and share your story with the world, head on over to brandjitsu.com and order a copy of my book, Brand Jitsu, Move Your Brand from Meh to Memorable. I've been your host, Michael Dargie, and this has been the RebelRebel podcast. It's a podcast for creative rebels and entrepreneurs all over the world. And hey, if you're a rebel or you know a rebel, head on over to the RebelRebelPodcast.com and fill out the guest request form. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time.